Okay, well, I'm here with Eric Villeneuve, and excited to chat with you a little bit, Eric, in regards to HomeVestors and your experience. And so the setting here is that we have become Zoom experts amidst the coronavirus pandemic, and so now we've learned how to do some of this technology stuff, at least for me as an older guy. And but we've gotten to know each other over the last several years, and it's just been a delight for me and to get to know you and your family. But more importantly, it's been really fascinating to see your HomeVestors journey. I thought it would be really special for a lot of folks to kind of hear your journey, both in terms of your history before HomeVestors and your history these last few years. And so maybe we just start off with just telling everybody about who you are. Tell us about your family. Tell us about what you did before HomeVestors, and kind of start there.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Super happy to be here. And you're right. I know significantly more about Zoom than I did 30 days ago. So my name's Eric Villeneuve. I grew up in Florida, North Florida, Jacksonville Beach area. And I went to the University of Florida and didn't know what I wanted to do. I changed from engineering to business, couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And then in the year 2001, I met my wife to be. And shortly after we got married, I read a little book in 2002 called Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and decided I'm going to do real estate. Like, that's what I'm going to do. Unfortunately, the paying of bills and the normal job that I had got in the way. And I was working in construction at the time and working at a family cabinet business. And then by 2008, I was the owner of that cabinet business. And all through that time, the desire to do real estate never left. And I read a lot of books, and I just kept dreaming about it. I read everything that Robert Kiyosaki wrote, because that was really all I knew. A funny story, I went to church with a guy, and he gave me this huge binder of cassette tapes called No Money Down Real Estate. And it was from a late night infomercial. And I must have listened to every one of those cassette tapes at least 3 or 4 times. And I still actually have it on my bookshelf, just as a reminder of all the years that I spent learning about real estate before I started doing anything, just to keep my dreams alive. I guess 2013, I bought my first house to fix and flip that I was not living in. And it came as a lead from a friend. And I did, of course, during the mid 2000s, buy, remodel, and sell 4 houses that me and my wife lived in. And that kind of gave me an appetite. And in 2006, I bought a little house and fixed it up. And in 2008, when I sold it, they gave me a check for $35,000. And at the time I was making $36,000 a year. And I sat at the table looking at that check. I was like, I work all year to earn this much money. And they just gave me this check today. And I think that check in 2008, when I got that, it really set like set an imprint in my mind. I have to figure this out. So 2013, I did my first fix and flip that I didn't live in. 2014, I did 1 or 2. And in 2015, I owned my cabinet business and was just really getting burned out on it. I was doing well, but burned out on it. And I knew I wanted to do real estate. And I made a huge poster and put it on the wall and said, 20 deals to change my life for 2016. That was November of 2015. And, had a couple of employees from my cabinet business that were working with me on it. And we did 19 deals in 2016. Wow. So the beginning of 2017, I sold my cabinet business to one of the current employees that was there, and set off on my own, being my own real estate investor, because that's all I really knew. So I was mailing out letters and trying to figure out the best leads and trying to bid at the courthouse and trying to bid on REOs. I mean, you name a direction, I was going it. And met Ron Jacobson, who's interviewing me here in 2017, just because we went to church together and we were pals and enjoying talking about life. And then, also you were doing real estate. And so that was kind of fun to have somebody in my sphere of life that also did the same job, because I felt like I was on an island. And the rest is history. And here we are at HomeVestors.
So you've been in HomeVestors since when? When did you
Yeah,
sign your franchise agreement?
Yeah, in April 2018. So I'm right at 2 years this month.
Wow, it feels like it's been longer.
Well,
in a good way.
Yeah. Well, it does.
So,
To be honest, the last 30 days with this pandemic has felt like about a year to me. So
right,
like,
sure. Yeah.
yeah.
So, so what was it about HomeVestors? Because you had a successful business on your own. But what was it about HomeVestors that piqued your interest to say, maybe I can do this better, smarter, easier with a brand? I mean, because clearly you got to spend money, you have to pay franchise fees. What was it that piqued your interest initially?
Yeah, great question. So, Amelia, my wife, and I were talking about this last night, and I think if I remember correctly, Ron, whenever we started just kind of talking about life and parenting and that kind of stuff, and talking a little bit about real estate, I think I specifically told you I didn't really have any interest in We Buy Ugly Houses, because I thought I bought pretty houses and made them even prettier.
But nor did I ever push.
Yeah. If you did not. You respected that. I think just through the life experiences of talking to you, a successful HomeVestors franchisor, and as we started to talk about deals, just generically having fun talking about deals we were doing, I started to realize, putting some of the math together in my mind, it sounded like you were making more money per house. And I didn't understand that, because I thought I should be making more money per house since I was by myself. And you were having to pay franchise fees, you were having to pay for advertising. And so, all I really understood was the fact that, it was costing me less per house to buy one than it sounded like but you were making so much more money per house. And so I started talking with my wife about that. And I said, I'm talking to Ron, and he's doing more quantity of houses and making more money per house. And so I think we're missing something. And then, so then asking you some more questions, and then, sharing those answers with my wife. And then the fact that we were sitting there, our heads, kind of blew up when we realized, hey, if we join HomeVestors, we don't have to keep licking envelopes. We don't have to keep searching for the next list that we're going to mail. We don't have to keep trying to find a lead. All we have to do is plug the money into the marketing machine that's already happening and buy and work on houses. And I think that kind of flipped the switch.
Right. When you were in your own business, what were your potential exit strategies?
So we really the same that we have now in our own business. We just did fix and flips, and maybe one assignment per year. Mm-hmm. And I would say that's pretty much the same now. But because you bring up a good topic, though, before I joined HomeVestors, I wanted rental houses, but was terrified as to how to get started with rental houses. And I actually bought my first 2 rental houses about 4 months before joining HomeVestors. And so kind of going through the process to learn about HomeVestors, I realized that I would have access to everybody on the team that had significantly more than 1 or 2 rental houses. And I felt like that would help my rental portfolio grow without me maybe learning all the hard lessons on my own. So that was one of the exits. But primarily our exits are still the same: fix and flips, 1 assignment per year, maybe, if necessary. But now we're adding rentals that we were not really doing in a healthy way before.
So tell everybody about the makeup of your team right now, in terms of just the folks that you have working with you.
Yeah, so we do have 2 full-time employees, a transaction coordinator and a project manager. And my wife works part-time, about 10 to 15 hours a week. She helps come up with a design plan for our houses that are over $200,000. She helps us order some materials as needed, and she does actually stage our houses and attend all of our meetings. She also is, a trusted decision maker for me when I'm in negotiations. So we have a bookkeeper that works about 4 to 6 hours a week doing our books as well. So When we joined HomeVestors when we started doing it on our own, we had made the decision that we could either increase our pay over the first few years, or we could invest in a team. And based on my age and our plan to do this for at least 20 years, we decided that we put a small team was actually on our business plan. And we decided to keep our salary consistent initially so that we could have the funds to do that.
Excellent. So in terms of, understanding, helping folks and me understand the key differences between running a business you're on your own, which you elaborate a little bit of some of the tasks that you had to do, versus, buying a franchise, being a part of a franchise team. What are some of those key differences that you've discovered over the last couple of years?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that would actually be going to a different team, and that's the Team HVA. I remember when I was at the basic initial HomeVestors training, Ken Chanel kept going, Team HVA, and I was like, this is silly. Like, no, I want to buy houses. I don't want to sit here and do a chant. But there's something in that they've really captured at HomeVestors, and that is the aspect that I did not understand how much the other local franchisees would be in my corner on my team. I assumed that we'd all advertise together and maybe have lunch, but at the end of the day, we were independent. That is the furthest thing from true that I ever imagined. The local group of HomeVestors, we have 15, 16, 17 franchisees, typically share all details, almost all contacts, banking contacts, subcontractor contacts. We've even shared P&Ls on houses. I never imagined the type of education, camaraderie that I would get from joining HomeVestors. The other thing, last night as I was thinking about this interview today, Ron, and chatting with my wife, she reminded me that I am a typical American entrepreneur, and that I want to do things my own way. I'm very introverted in that I like to have my alone time, and I'm very extroverted in that I like to hang out with friends. And if you're an entrepreneur all by yourself, then you stay introverted all the time. And so the thing about joining HomeVestors is it's allowed me to run my own business while also having that camaraderie and that backstop. So I don't get too low when things are going bad, and I don't get too high when I have, a good sale. Those are some of the things that I really appreciate about being a part of HomeVestors team.
That's great. I've used the analogy since I joined about 5.5 years ago, in that I'm in business for myself, but I'm not in business by myself.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
That really has helped clarify for me some of the value add features that I get from being part of a team, because as we all know, this can be an extremely lonely business. And so if you don't have some kind of routine engagement that's in your rhythms, both on a business level and just kind of a personal level, then you can get pretty isolated.
Yeah, so a great example of that would be in 2017. I mailed on my own a probate list, and I had a guy call me, and I answered the phone, and he just yelled and cussed, saying that I was taking advantage of his mom because I was mailing a letter after his dad died, and he just cussed me up and down, and I was pretty depressed for about a whole entire day that had happened. And now when I'm on HomeVestors, like, we have this kind of badge of honor where, we have something go sideways, and we can text everybody, and we can reaffirm each other and kind of laugh about it. And it makes things go completely different now. So I love that aspect. I don't get too low when something goes wrong. Also, on the flip side, it used to be that if I sold a house and made a good amount of money, then I was ready to just go spend it all like there was no tomorrow. And now I've learned through HomeVestors to look at the buying and selling of houses as a business, not as a series of highs and lows. Right.
Excellent. So how have you thought of your business in terms of the buy side? So has your perspective changed at all joining HomeVestors and kind of going through our sales system? Has your perspective changed at all in terms of the art and science of buying a house?
Yeah, that's a good question. I've learned a lot about how to do a better job buying the house, obviously through the tools that HomeVestor has, through the Sandler, through just collaborating with local franchisees. I would say I'm completely different at going through the buy process, with a home seller. So those were tools I did not have access to outside of HomeVestors.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, that's been great.
So, beyond kind of what you already shared, was there anything else that just pleasantly surprised you that you thought, okay, I'm going to buy this franchise, I'm going to pay this fee, I'm going to pay royalties when I sell a house? Um, was there anything that you thought, gee, I didn't expect this from this business?
Yeah, that's a great question. You might want to edit me out on this answer, but I just had, the caveman, we buy ugly houses. I just kind of had a low opinion. Like it seems like kind of a dopey organization. So I assumed the knowledge would kind of be knowledge that I could just learn in a book. I was completely wrong about that. The people that you rub elbows with at conventions, the people that you have access to, through the web portal, chatting and blogs, the people here locally and the amount of deals they've done, the knowledge is absolutely phenomenal. Prior to joining HomeVestors, I was a part of marketing groups where they would want you to pay $10,000 to come hang out with a guru. And, those guys, a lot of those guys know good information, but now I get that every day that I want it as part of HomeVestors. I was
Mhm.
amazed at the high level of knowledge that was available. And I was also amazed at how much I did turn into start loving the caveman over time.
Perhaps like
the
some franchisees may have initially despised Ronald McDonald, but he became a gold mine, didn't he?
Yeah, that's a great way, and I'm bringing it full circle right back to the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, right? So Robert Kiyosaki in his book, he always says something that stuck with me. He asked in his book, he said, hey, "Can you make a hamburger better than McDonald's?" Yes, of course I can grill a hamburger better than McDonald's. And he said, "Well, then why don't you make billions of dollars like they do?" And so that kind of stuck in my mind. And when I started to look at this HomeVestors franchise, it started to make me think like, yes, I can buy and fix up and sell a house, but this franchise model can help me turn this into something that I can scale and potentially maybe even work myself out of a job by building a small team with this business model. Or you don't have to go that route. You can just keep working it yourself, but you have much more knowledge, much more people to do life with. And so for me, it kind of became a no-brainer at that point.
So excellent. I see a lot of poster board behind you. So
Yeah.
you don't have to get into a whole lot of detail, but we see a blue and a brown board. I'm just curious now, since you've got it in our faces, briefly tell us what's the blue and brown boards about?
Yeah, that's a great question, Ron. So being a small business owner and that being my background, I got challenged in about the year 2010 to actually write my goals down on paper. And, you hear that in books. You hear highly successful people talking about writing their goals down. It's just kind of the thing that sounds nice, right? Or you write them down in January and then you never look at the paper again. In 2010 and 11, I started writing my goals on a piece of paper that I would look at 1, 2, 3 times a year. But I noticed that I was actually accomplishing about 50% of the things I was writing down. And that got me thinking that I really needed my goals in front of me where I could see them every single day. And in 2015, I started putting my goals on the wall behind me, like you can see there. Um, and I lost weight. I did more deals. I started making more money. I started accomplishing the things I said I was going to do. I started going on trips to places that I used to dream about. Got my wife a new minivan, like I've been telling her for years I was going to do. So it was like all these things that I always dreamed about now had an action plan, and I had a way to make them come about. And I'm able to set a reasonable amount for the year, and then other goals get pushed off further in the future. And it's amazing what your goals in front of you on the wall will do for your life and your focus for the day.
Excellent. That's awesome, Eric. Thanks for
Yeah.
sharing. Well, on that point, would you care to share kind of, I mean, just generally your results? I mean, or just on a high level, your results for 2019. How'd you do?
Yeah, 2019 was my personal best year from a personal income standpoint ever. It was a great year.
You don't have to get into that much detail.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the most houses I've ever bought. So
how many houses did you buy?
We bought 30. We bought 30.
Okay.
A couple of those were vacant land. I think the end number was 25 houses and 5 pieces of vacant land. But yeah, that's how many we bought. And before that, I think I told you in 2016 we bought 19 properties, and then in 2017 we bought 12, and in 2018 I think we bought 18, and we were getting settled in going into 2019 with our HomeVestors franchise. And so we put 30 up on the wall. We put a big board on the wall. I mean, it's 4 feet wide and 8 feet long, and it's up on the wall. Everybody on our team has to look at it every single day, and office bonuses are tied to that board. And so that's up on the wall. And we did 30. We bought our 30th house on December 31st, 2019. And it was a good deal. We didn't buy it just to do it because we had been under contract, but I made sure that the closing actually took place. And that's closed properties, not contracts.
Right.
So this year, 2020, started the year off with the goal being 33 properties. What we did last year was we wanted to hit a quantity we'd never done, which was 30. And so this year, what we want to do is refine that quantity. So this is a year of working on quality. So our target's 33, anywhere between 30 and 33. We're happy. The goal is to be more profitable and to learn how to build profitability into our systems better.
Right. So where would you say your profitability per deal went from being on your own to being on a team?
You mean the HomeVestors team, right?
Yeah. Can you quantify that in any way?
Yeah, there's a really good way I'm going to quantify it. So HomeVestors taught me to believe that I could buy houses at a bigger discount, which I did not previously. The other main thing that we haven't even really touched on this topic is prior to joining HomeVestors, my average profit per deal was, I think, $20,000 to $25,000 of profit. But my
on a rehab?
On a rehab. But my average buy price was north of 200,000. I was buying houses in the 190 to 250 range and selling them in that 270 to 400 range. And so one thing that HomeVestors has done is now my average home buy price is in the low 100s, and I'm actually averaging, I think last year our average was $28,000 per deal. So we're averaging more money, but our average buy is $100,000 less, which means significantly more risk if there were to be, say, like a depression, a recession, or a pandemic. You're significantly at less risk when you're bringing houses to market for 180 to 240 than when you're bringing houses to market for 400,000, because the lower price point house gives you a lot more outlets. You can turn them into rentals. You probably won't have as much price suppression if there's a recession because you still have a lot of first-time home buyers. So I feel like our business is significantly less risky while making more money per houses.
That's fascinating. That's a fascinating observation. I know we've talked about that in the past. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, you brought up a great subject there. Is there anything else that we haven't touched on that you think, in your experience the last 2 years, you'd just like to highlight for folks?
Yeah, I think that, joining HomeVestors for me has been great because I love the camaraderie and the teamwork. The people that I have observed in HomeVestors that have done really well, they really have an abundance mentality, meaning there's a lot of houses to be bought in our area. And we're a team, and together we're going to buy a lot of houses, and we're going to help each other out. And the folks that have like a scarcity mentality, like there's only a couple of houses that can be bought and they can't talk to anybody else because they got to get those deals, they're going to struggle with that team aspect. And it might not even be the best thing for them. The other thing is you do run into some folks that just want to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. And for those folks, the team aspect of a franchise might not be there. But if you're somebody who wants to have a lot of fun making money with other like-minded people and not have to do everything on your own not have to figure everything else out on your own, and have a group of people help you pull you up by your bootstraps and make more money than you were by yourself, then HomeVestors might be for you.
Great. Well, Eric, this has been great. And thanks so much for sharing your story and some details about your business. And I'm looking forward to 2020. There's a lot of uncertainty out there, but I think with the collective team that we've got, we're going to figure this out, for the benefit of everybody. So thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime.
Thanks.